On the offensive side, do I really want to take the bait and say Jeremy Rutger to tight end in the
It is spring.
It is spring, so this is, if there's going to be a time we're going to talk up the tight end position, it would be now. So I'll say I think Jeremy Rutger could have a huge role. I mean, he's not going to lead the team in receptions or anything by that stretch of the imagination, but I think he's just too talented, and that's not taking anything away from Luke Farrell or any of the other tight ends as well. But I think he's somebody that could step up offensively. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think that this could be a big year for Baron Browning. Whether they slide him down to more of a rush end position, he plays kind of a bit of a hybrid, not necessarily a kind of like the Viper that they run up north. But, if he kind of does a little bit of both, I think this really could be a year that he could. I mean, he's had all the physical tools and everything there. It's just really been a matter of finding that position that works for him. And honestly, it's been a bit of a locked up. Linebacker positions have been locked up with starters for a couple of years, and he just doesn't get the reps that, you would have expected from a former 5-star like we had him here at Rivals. So I'll say Baron Browning on the defensive side.
I'll go ahead. Garrett Wilson, do we count him as a breakout guy? I mean, he made so many big plays last season, but he was kind of split in time, I guess, at times. I'd say that he's a guy that could double his numbers perhaps from a year ago. I don't have his exact stats in front of me. I guess I could take 1 second and look him up, but I think he's a guy that has the potential to take his game to another level on offense. If I had to pick maybe one of those younger running backs, Crowley or Chambers, if they're able to get into a game early in the season before Master Teague can get back full go. Of course, you have Trace Sermon there now that's going to take some reps if he's healthy, so that would be interesting. Wilson last year, 30 catches, 432 yards, and 5 touchdowns. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to say he could make that into 50 or 60 and close to 10 touchdowns if he's given the chance, if not more. So I think he's an obvious pick, though. I think, again, maybe you're looking for somebody who has never been at this level, perhaps a go-to guy like he was at times last year. Maybe Jackson Smith-Njigba, just based on what we saw one day of practice. He caught everything thrown in his area code, and he was pretty exciting to watch. Defensively, I like his pick of Baron Browning. I think he's been in the shadows for far too long, and he's got an opportunity as an every down player, perhaps that maybe he's never really had if he's out there that much. So that would be good. Where they really need it are at defensive end and at cornerback. They really need somebody at both of those positions to flash up. You got one dependable guy at each position. I think Zach Harrison at defensive end, with the idea that Jonathan Cooper and Tyreek Smith are good players, but, I don't think either of them are going to be confused with Chase Young anytime soon. And then at corner, you're looking at Seven Banks and Cam Brown particularly. Maybe Tyreek Johnson is a guy that jumps up and really helps him alongside Sean Wade. Sean Wade's the one proven guy. So one of those young corners, one of those other defensive ends, maybe a Jean Baptiste or a Teron Vincent or somebody can jump up and be that kind of a guy, or a Tyler Friday, I guess, more appropriately than Vincent. But, I'm excited to see some of these guys who we have only seen kind of scratch the surface of what they can do become household names, provided we have football in the fall. Which was the first 15 minutes of our discussion.
Yeah. The correct answer is Garrett Wilson on offense, provided there's a full season. I think if they keep him in the slot where they have moved him to in the spring, you're looking at 70 catches for that guy. Kevin Wilson compared him to or talked about how they used Ryan Broyles at Oklahoma, and Broyles, I think in his junior year, caught about 110 passes. And so they see Garrett Wilson like that. I'm not saying 110 passes, and I'm not going to say 90 catches like Paris Campbell had, because some of those were just jet sweeps. But, I could see 75 for, 1,000 yards, something like that. Another guy on offense to watch would be Harry Miller, probably at left guard, sophomore, who everybody raved about last year as a freshman center coming in, already knowing checks and slides and all these different protections that he shouldn't have as a freshman, impressed everybody. So when people talk about him like that, you would expect him to be one of those guys. And they don't need him at center. They've got Josh Myers. There's a job open at left guard. I assume he would be there and do very well. Defensively, I'll give you one guy at each level. Zach Harrison would be that guy. His numbers as a freshman were pretty comparable to Chase Young and Nick Bosa. And he's supposed to be that next guy, top 10 player nationally in high school. So we'll see. But don't forget about Tommy Togiai at nose tackle. Junior now. Devon Hamilton and Robert Landers are gone, so he's going to be the guy. I like the pick of Baron Browning. I would compare maybe what they're going to do with him to what Michigan did with Josh Uche, where sometimes he would be a linebacker, other times he would be a rush end. And he also could maybe do some of the dropping back because he is so athletic. I mean, this is a guy, his senior year in high school, played some corner because there were injuries, and he's 6'3", 240 or whatever, running a 4.5. And then my pick in the secondary, it has to be Josh Proctor at safety, but I'll go Cameron Brown at corner. I think he's due, junior now, so I'm looking at him to be the next guy next to Sean Wade, wherever these corners line up, because we still don't know.
And for Lucas, who asked the question, his offensive player is Jamison Williams, who was obviously highly regarded, although certainly not in the spotlight that Garrett Wilson was in that same recruiting class. And Lucas cites a huge play against Miami of Ohio there.
And he'll team with Chris Olave, and they'll be they'll switch off and on at that Z position, and so he's going to play a lot, and he is dynamic as we saw. Looks like Ted Ginn in the open field. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
6 catches, 1 touchdown for Williams last year.